Hi, I'm Ruben Aptroot.
I'm Andrew Saul.
Wait, who was that?
That's your joke.
Yeah,
Wrong room. What? Hey, who is this guy?
Yeah, let's not do jokes like that. Let's not do confused jokes.
Yeah, we've done that a lot.
Yeah, we've done it a lot. I don't think it's very funny.
So, after last week's fantastic adventure down the dark descent, let's move to something a little bit more popular, a little bit more decent, I think, is probably a good word to go for. So, have you heard of World of Warcraft?
Have I heard of World of Warcraft? I don't know. Do I know what paint is? Is it sky blue? Yes, of course I've heard of World of Warcraft.
Do you want to play World of Warcraft?
Not particularly.
Good, because you're not playing World of Warcraft.
Okay.
You're playing the World of Warcraft card game instead.
What? The World of Warcraft card game?
Yep.
Well, I suppose it makes sense.
Yeah, it's called Hearthstone.
Oh, I have heard of Hearthstone.
Yeah. Didn't know it was World of Warcraft, did you?
No.
Oh.
No, well, I did. I did know it was World of Warcraft. I knew it was Blizzard. Yeah, right. So, Hearthstone, eh? That's what I'm going to be playing.
So, Hearthstone, for those of you who don't know, is a card game that's played digitally. It's on mobile and PC. The idea is that both players start a game with 30 health and a deck of cards. On your turn, you'll draw cards and you'll play them to the board, which are like units that you add to the board. And then you can choose to attack either your opponent's units or the opponent themselves directly to deal damage to them. Once one player reaches 0 life, they die, the game ends, and you win. Or the player that kills them win, I guess. It's a fairly straightforward, simple game, and Hearthstone was a game that has gained a lot of popularity from being a very approachable card game. There's a lot of it that's about like good tutorialization, if a little bit slow, but making sure that all the key concepts are carried across. Really good onboarding, feels really good. Like it's a game that has just one of the best game feels of just sitting there playing a game, feeling right. But yeah, it's quite a well-received game, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, I look forward to playing it. Because you've said that it's a great game. You said that it felt really good. You also said that Amnesia: The Dark Descent was a good game.
Yes,
but
I did.
I mean, we both know that you're quite the jokester.
Oh, I'm just full of pranks, aren't I?
But I see. So I know about card games. Mm-hmm. I am scared of card games a little bit because I see them as hopelessly complex.
Yep.
So I'm actually looking forward to this because this feels like a real challenge. Mm-hmm. It feels like something that I might not like, but at least I won't be bored.
Right, that's absolutely true, I think, of Hearthstone. I will be upfront and honest and say that my opinions of Hearthstone are rather mixed. I think we have had discussions about the game in the past, and I'll give my feedback on it at the other end of the podcast. And I'd like to hear what you think.
Well, I will, as always, I will enjoy telling you what I think.
And I'll enjoy listening, I think. I'm not sure. Alright, so Andy, have you decided to quit your job and follow the Hearthstone World Circuit?
Well, Sam, look, before we get into this, I think the listeners will have noticed that the audio sounds a bit different, and that's because we're inside a new studio.
Exciting times.
It is exciting times for this podcast. Even more exciting is my experience with Hearthstone. So without any ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what my experience with the game was. Now, this is also, combined with this being a new studio, it's a new way of me playing games on this podcast.
Right.
So I played a lot of this game, and I played weeks and weeks of this game. So that's a...
Weeks straight, like non-stop?
I didn't. but many, many hours. So previously I'd been playing 2 to 3 hours worth of a game. I mean, it's safe to say I went 5 times that with this game.
Wow, must have really liked it then.
Well, it's just because of the kind of game it is and the kind of experience I had. So Here we go. So when I first started, my first impressions of this game were little short of fantastic. Mm-hmm. Like, the tutorial was fantastic. It's the best intro to anything I have ever seen before in my life.
I would actually agree. I did say earlier in the podcast that I didn't really care for Hearthstone all that much, but I do have to say that its tutorial is gold star, gold standard, A+. Like, you can't do a lot better than that. And the more I think back at it, the more I realize just the number of little clever things they've done in that, just astounding.
Yeah, it is. And remember I said that I was scared, or at least worried about a card game because of all the things I had to think about. And when I first started Hearthstone, I saw a lot of numbers and figures and abilities, and I was like, I'll tell you now, I was a bit overwhelmed.
Yep.
And then suddenly I was just playing game after game, and I was like, oh, so that's how I do a shield, and that's how I do this, and that's how I do it. It's so easy, and they've made it so fun.
Yep.
So that was pretty much like, so the game looks and plays and sounds the bomb, right?
Yep.
And I stayed up late 2 nights in a row. Like I'm talking 1, 2 o'clock.
Nice.
Still playing Hearthstone going, yeah, just one more game. Just one more game.
It's only going to be 5-10 minutes, right? Just another little one. Yeah.
I'm having such a good time. And I can say the honeymoon period for this game lasted probably 8 hours. But when the game turned on me, it turned on me bad.
Yep.
So I went from learning to frustration really fast. And I just went from learning something new and getting better and understanding the game more to not learning anything about how to play better.
Yep.
And the reason for that, I think, was I was just getting beaten by better decks.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest downsides towards joining Hearthstone at this year 2017 is that the game's been out for a few years now. So a lot of the people who are playing right now have been playing for a while, like, a year, maybe even a few months, right? And the advantage that a few months gives you in Hearthstone is insane. You can beat newbies pretty easily if you know what you're doing. And I think that you probably found yourself getting into that where you were just getting trounced every time because people just had more experience. But then there's also the more cards problem, right? Which I think you're about to segue into.
I am. I'm about to go straight into that because I'm fine with being beaten. So the losing in this game sucks.
Oh, yes.
It just sucks so much. And I'm not learning anything when I lose.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening to me is they're playing cards which are far more powerful than I have.
Yep.
And the game ends.
Mm-hmm.
There's no strategy there. There's nothing for me to take and go, oh, I might do that next time. The only thing I'm taking away from each match I lose is, you know what I need?
Better cards.
I need better cards.
Yep.
Anyway,
So at the end of the day, if you have a card game, you're going to need variety in cards, and you're going to need cards to be better than other cards. And a new player is not going to have access to all the cards, otherwise they can't make money as a game. So they're sort of, from a design perspective, they're also stuck with how to solve that problem, right? Like, do you make all the new cards boring and uninteresting, or the same power level of your starting cards, then no one would bother getting them. So from a perspective, you either need to make money on the game, or you need to make the game perfectly balanced towards new player experiences. And I think they chose the one to make more money, which makes sense, I guess.
See, I don't think I properly agree with that that viewpoint. I'll tell you why. Because this gets back to my second half in the game. So I had that tutorial experience, which was really great. I had that crashing experience when I was going out into matches and I was learning nothing and I couldn't. It seems like I couldn't do anything. And that bad experience lasted about 6 hours, right? And then I was ready to give up this game. And I talked to you about it, and you put me onto a set of videos on YouTube, which I really enjoyed, and taught me some basic strategy in the game. Because in the back of my mind, I was thinking, am I just really bad at playing this game? Do I just not understand this game well? And I'm having such a bad time. And you know what? After I'd learned some basic strategy, I got back into the game, and I sort of didn't reach the heights of what I had when I was doing the tutorial.
Yep.
But I started to enjoy the game again. I was like, oh, I'm actually back in. And man, it was just a sugar rush. Like, seriously, that happened. And after a very short period of time, like I'm thinking 3-4 matches, and in those matches were wins. And key to this was I didn't have fun when I won. I didn't even have fun when I won. Like, losing's bad, but winning wasn't great either. And then I was straight back again. And, the match mechanics restrict you so much in the way you play. There seems to be very little scope for actual strategy. Instead, I felt it came down to the deck you have, about 80%, and the luck of the draw, about 20%.
Yep.
Now, I was always most often well outmatched in terms of decks, but I figure the closer the decks get in terms of power, then the more matches are simple cases of luck. And then that luck could really play out by turn 2 or 3, which means you'll be playing the majority of the match knowing you're going to lose or win.
Yeah.
Now, there is something I might be missing here. I wasn't playing much against what I thought my opponent had in their hand. So I wasn't playing as proactively as I could have been.
Right.
I think if I played a couple of 100 matches,
that's perfectly reasonable for some people to play.
Yeah, I could start to understand the entire card set a bit better.
Yeah.
And then I might be able to counter what I thought was going to be an opponent's hand.
But at the end of the day, I found with Hearthstone, your options for playing around enemy cards or playing into cards or something, there's not that much that you can do. Because what are you going to do? Just not play cards? Is like the typically way that you play around cards in Hearthstone, and that's not particularly fun or interesting. And I know that probably some people watching or listening to this podcast, watching or listening, will probably comment on about aggro and control decks and games that go forever and games that go quickly. And yes, I don't even think that's even worth discussing here because we're talking about that early game experience where you're still learning those rules of those games. The games feel like they end very quickly when you're new and you're struggling to pick up the game. And it makes those losses feel really bad. And I think this is the crux of why Hearthstone is such a polarizing game, is that everything in that game is something that you either love or something that you hate. There's no in between, right? And the things like losing sucks. It sucks so bad because you feel like there was nothing you could do. Or if there was something you could do, it was something, small or something insignificant that you're not sure how it all links together. I'm going to talk a little bit now about my favorite card game, one that I've played for a long time, which is Netrunner. And Netrunner is a physical game, so you need to play it with real people. So obviously it's got some advantages in terms of social aspects. But I find that game, when I lose a game of Netrunner, it feels so much more rewarding than winning a game of Hearthstone. And as a result of that, every time I play Netrunner, I'm just like, this is great because I'm learning each time. I'm thinking about what I've done. I think about how to tweak that deck and how to really go against other players better. But that's a game where the business model of that's more around everyone having the same cards. And everyone has to buy in to play that game. It's not a free-to-play game. So there's definitely some areas where Hearthstone really struggles to get people on board and really loving it because those little things that don't feel great, they are magnified if you're a new player and you're not super into card games. Especially now, a few years into the game, where there's no real easy onboarding. You can't play against people that are at your same skill level because there's just not that many. There's not that many new players coming to Hearthstone. Most gamers have been through the game, made their decision, and are playing at the high ranks or they're gone. So yeah, you're kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place with Hearthstone. And it's a shame because it is a gorgeous game. It looks good, it feels good, it sounds good. Everything about it just makes it feel homey. And then when you hit there, loss after loss and loss, it really stings. And it's just, you're like, well, why would I play this?
So it's balance.
Yeah.
See, this begs me to ask, what's the fun in playing this game? Like, is it actually a card collecting game with battles being the grind you must go to in order to get cards?
I think that's the extent of it, yeah. Like, I think if you gave every person that played Hearthstone the full set of cards to play, you would find that interest in the game would dwindle significantly. A lot of players enjoy taking their smaller set of cards that they got randomly from playing the game or spending $20 down and building decks and making something of that. And then there's a handful of people out there that will just have all the cards and their goal is to get to number one or, be the best in the world, which is fair enough. If that's what they want to do. But yeah, for most people, it's about just dealing and making do with the card pool and slowly getting those cool, new, powerful cards that you saw used against you. Because when you get them and use them against an enemy, they're going to be great fun, right? Doesn't actually work out that way in practice. And then you go looking for the next carrot to chase while getting beaten by the stick.
And that's what gives me frustration about this game, is that it's set up to be so much about playing the game, about there's strategy in the game, playing the game is fun, playing the game is like physically fun, as in the sound, the looks, the feel.
Yeah.
A lot of time's been spent doing that. But if that's not the focal point of the game, because the game is mainly about collecting and building a deck, because, the biggest determinant in winning a match seems to be that first, before you even get into a match, whichever deck you get pitched against
has a huge impact.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's like, well, this is going to decide what it is. I mean, and I know enough about World of Warcraft, and even though I've never played World of Warcraft, to know that when opponents are higher levels than you because they just show you.
Yeah.
And the battles are quick and you can decide to go into that battle or not into that battle.
Right.
Whereas Hearthstone, it feels like that's what they've got happening too. They've got these varying levels, but then none of this ranking, matching and the kind of stuff, at least for me, it didn't seem to even out.
Yeah, like I think their matchmaking algorithms are pretty decent from what I've seen, but the problem with it is that the people at the bottom get shafted. Right, like you think that you can make a matchmaking system. The easiest area to balance it for is for the medium players, the average players, right? Like, because there's a lot of people who are average players by definition. But it's the new players and the early players coming in, because you don't stay an early player for very long, whereas you can stay a mediocre player forever. So matchmaking is always going to be a hard problem to solve in card games. And even more so as it gets on further on. And I think the solution to that is to just try and make more individual single-player content such that you can be a mediocre player by the time you really start to compete. If you can be in that median range, the average player, if you can improve that range and have some more wins behind your back or better potential to win in the game, then that would be the answer. But obviously single-player content is hard to really do, and Hearthstone charges a premium for that stuff.
See, and on that point, I don't understand why. Because Hearthstone has just confused me so much, more than any other game we've done. So I found myself in a strange situation with this game. I've seen, as we all have, people's overreaction to movies and games.
Yep.
And it doesn't make sense to be so offended by something that impacts your actual life so little, right? Mm-hmm. And we all have a good laugh at people's rants and raves about different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I found myself feeling similar emotions towards Hearthstone.
Yeah, right.
And I'm still angry. I'm still angry. No, this is totally bananas because I'm just not
paid nothing.
Yeah, I paid nothing. I'm just not that into games, as we know. Yet I loved this game more than any other game we've played, and I hated it more than any other game that we've played.
Right, because it's polarizing.
It's polarizing, and I feel personally offended. I feel offended by a game that I paid nothing to play.
Yeah.
And I'm still angry about the experience I had. And you know what? I think it's because I feel that sense of loss.
Right. You feel like it could have been something bigger and something better.
I just feel like you have
thought this could be the game that makes you into games again.
It's got so much going for it. Mm-hmm. Short little game sessions. It's got an interesting premise. It's a well thought out, well structured sort of game mechanic and all that kind of stuff.
It's got some depth to it. There's no doubt about that.
And then just the floor falls away from you, and it just ends up so bad.
Yep. So Andy, what have you learned?
If you're going to have a competitive game, you've got to have a game where losing and winning is fun, and that you can learn from both.
Yep.
Okay? And especially you need to be able to learn from losing. Hearthstone, it's not fun to lose, it's not fun to win, and I don't learn anything from losing. And that, to me, is the death knell for this game. Now, to paraphrase Mike Skinner, a podcast don't come for free, and this one is no exception. So if you want to help us make this podcast forever, then please like and comment on our YouTube videos, find us on SoundCloud, and most importantly, which is the lifeblood of any podcast, is rate and review us on iTunes. We're not asking for a good review, we're asking for honest reviews. Now, I may not have liked Hearthstone, and I may have used words like, it sucked, but I definitely wouldn't use those words when I'm talking about such stellar musical acts as Ultrafidi,
Hawkmoon,
Playboy Millionaire,
or G-Money.
Probably not G-Money.
Probably not G-Money.
Probably so G-Money.
Yeah. Ever go to a party, some motherfucker comes up to you, asks you what you've been doing? Yeah. This one's for them. Ha! Yep. I'll split you open from your pee hole. No soul, like a console without a control. Like a rich motherfucker still claiming the dole. I'm like an ostrich, I'll stick my hand in any fucking dirty hole. Yeah, stacking paper like an investment banker. I'm still a chronic wanker, so don't let me a hanker. Chief, belief is what I need to believe. Give it to me straight, don't want no seeds. Sell an ounce every day just to get by. Smoke an ounce every day just to get high. So when all y'all ask me what I've been doing, I say, smoking pot, smoking pot. I've been really fucking smoking lots of pot. Smoking pot, smoking pot. I've been really fucking smoking lots of pot. Smoking pot, smoking pot. I've been really fucking smoking lots of pot. Smoking pot, smoking pot. I've been really fucking smoking lots of pot. Yeah, 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 Getting Johnny Balls Depp in your mother. Your sister's crying and so is your brother. Cause I'm a lover, not a fighter, not even 7:30. I just finished the rider from Whangarei to China. I toured to all the cities where all the bitches be finer. Hey sexy, give me a lighter. My name is G Money, please tell me you're not a minor. Just one puff of my split, I'll take you higher. My sex is on fire, you calling me a liar? So old school, I'm running Windows 97. Born a Kiwi, so I didn't even vote for Kevin. STI's now up to 11. Don't give a fuck if I don't get into heaven, cause all I do is smoke that pot. Smoking pot, smoking pot. I've been really fucking smoking lots of pot. Smoking pot, smoking pot. I've been really fucking smoking lots of pot. Smoking pot, smoking pot. I've been really fucking smoking lots of pot. Smoking pot, smoking pot. I've been really fucking smoking lots of pot. So clap your hands if you smoked a reefer, even though we know that it should be cheaper. Clap your hands if you smoking reefer. Take another toke cause we going deeper. Clap your hands if you smoked a reefer, even though we know that it should be cheaper. Clap your hands if you smoking reefer. Take another toke cause we going deeper. Clap your hands if you smoked a reefer, even though we know that it should be cheaper. Clap your hands if you smoking reefer. Take another toke cause we going deeper. Clap your hands if you smoking reefer, even though we know that it should be cheaper. Clap your hands if you smoked a reefer. Take another toke cause we going deeper.